Imagine this, an old wooden crate, once used to carry tools, now cradling wildflowers in a sunlit corner. A rusty bicycle wheel, forgotten beneath a shed, transformed into a blooming hanging planter. This is where magic happens. Where forgotten things don't disappear, they transform. Welcome to a garden where every nail, every scrap, tells a story. Today, we're uncovering the breathtaking vintage rustic garden designs, all made from recycled materials. Let's breathe new life into the old. The rough-hewn warmth of pallets takes center stage in tiny gardens and balconies, transformed into tiered planters that whisper history. Imagine scavenged planks becoming a cascading home for herbs and trailing ivy, each nail hole and faded stamp adding character. This vignette follows the creative arc: a pallet rescued from a market, sanded just enough to keep its soul, painted in muted farmhouse hues, and then populated with mismatched pots that create a cozy rhythm. The story isn't about perfection, it's about rescue and reinvention. A discarded pallet finds purpose holding basil for Sunday dinners and a tiny row of succulents that glow at dusk. For apartment dwellers and small plot gardeners, these planters prove that vertical thinking and vintage materials can turn limited square footage into a lush, layered sanctuary. Once a pane of daily life, an old window now frames green shoots and morning light. Picture an upright multi-pane window resurrected as a mini greenhouse. Each square shows a different shade of growth, from peppermint seedlings to baby lettuces. The story traces the window's journey, salvaged from demolition, its flaking paint and tiny leaded accents celebrated rather than hidden, to its role protecting tender plants from spring chills. Neighbors pass by, pointing out the antique inscription on the sill, while the gardener tends seedlings with a mug of tea. This description celebrates the romance of glass and growth, where history shelters new beginnings and gardening becomes an act of gentle stewardship. Mason jars, foggy, embossed, reassuringly old, become miniature green universes on a sunlit shelf. Imagine a wall of varying jar sizes, lids repurposed as plant platforms, and a quirky mix of succulents thriving in thrifted soil. The scene feels intimate. A hand reaches in to pluck a tiny offset, a child's laughter echoes as a ladybug explores the rim, and afternoon light sketches lace-like shadows across the jars. Each jar carries a faint ghost of jam and harvests past, now serving as a tiny stage for resilient plants. The storytelling emphasizes slow, observable joy, small-scale upcycling that delights the eye and requires minimal space, care, and budget. A battered wheelbarrow sits at the corner of a garden, once a workhorse, now a rolling tableau of flowers spilling over its sides. Think sun-worn metal, chipped green paint, and an arrangement of cottage flowers tumbling like a colorful waterfall. The narrative imagines the wheelbarrow's previous life hauling soil and seedlings, giving it fresh purpose as a mobile garden bed where zinnias mingle with trailing sweet potato vine. Visitors pause to admire the contrast between hard metal and soft blooms, and the owner remembers the day they found it at a flea market, a little rusted, a lot hopeful. It's a vignette of joyful reclamation, beauty born from utility. Delicate teacups, once part of formal gatherings, now cradle miniature gardens. Tiny moss cushions punctuated with miniature ferns and lid hops. Visualize a mismatched tea set displayed on an old ladder-turned plant stand, each cup offering a micro-ecosystem that rewards close looking. The story lingers on sensory details. A chipped gold rim, the faint floral decal, a bird landing nearby. These mini gardens are gifts, table center curiosities, and conversation starters. Proof that even the smallest recycled vessel can hold a whole green world and a memory. metal signs and rusty advertising panels find new life as sculptural backdrops and trellises for climbing plants. Envision a corrugated sign leaning against a fence, its faded letters partially hidden behind morning glories that weave through bolts and rust. The persona of the garden changes. Once a blank boundary, now a textured canvas telling layers of stories. Industrial past meets soft botanicals. Gardeners run fingers over patinaed surfaces, tracing letters, imagining the sign's original place in a forgotten storefront. This vignette highlights how upcycled metal combines rugged durability with visual drama. Line a path with colorful, upturned bottles whose necks form a jewel-toned edging that sparkles when rain falls. This scene evokes summer afternoons. Children skipping stones while glass edges refract light, and the gardener remembers sorting bottles at a community cleanup. Each glass piece is a fragment of someone else's celebration. Wine night, soda in the park. Now repurposed into a functional, whimsical boundary. The story is about transforming detritus into delight, turning discarded glass into low-cost, high-impact garden architecture that glows at twilight. An old wooden ladder leans against a sun-washed wall, its rungs cradling terracotta pots and culinary herbs. This image is simple and comforting. Rosemary scent drifting into cooking, thyme snipped for stews, and the ladder's worn grain telling of barn dances and harvests. The narrative follows a weekend salvage mission, the triumphant discovery of the ladder, and its slow transformation into a living spice rack. Neighbors ask for cuttings. The gardener shares stories and basil. The ladder becomes both tool and tapestry, blending utility with nostalgia. reclaimed door lies horizontally to form a potting bench, its panels holding jars of seeds and a teetering stack of clay pots. The scene breathes workshop warmth. A radio plays softly, soil dust on the knees, and the door's brass knob catches sunlight. This potting bench is where seedlings get their first lessons and children learn about patience. The description celebrates the tactile joy of repurposing, sanding away rough patches just enough to reveal character, keeping old hinge marks as badges of history, and creating a functional altar for cultivating life. Old spades, rakes and pruning hooks become sculptural accents, their aged metal patina harmonizing with greenery. Imagine a fence where a line of tools, arranged like a chorus, offers both texture and story. The scene is evocative, a grandfather's pruning shear hanging where morning light makes it glint, a row of rusty trowels turned into plant labels. The narrative threads family memory with aesthetic reinvention. Tools that once sustained life in the soil now celebrated in a quieter, decorative role. A battered suitcase opens to reveal a portable garden. Layers of vintage fabric, drainage pebbles and a riot of trailing plants. The imagery is cinematic. The owner wheels it out for summer gatherings, and friends marvel at how carefully chosen fabrics and succulents tell a decade-spanning story. Each sticker on the suitcase hints at adventures, now complemented by oregano and creeping thyme that soften corners. This vignette captures the romance of mobility and memory, where travel relics become living displays. An antique teapot leaks a gentle stream into a pebble basin, its spout sending a soothing tick of water as ferns lean in to drink. Picture a quiet nook shaded by an old parasol where this tiny fountain plays its steady rhythm. The description focuses on sensory respite, the cool mist on a cheek, the distant hum of bees, and the teapot's chipped enamel catching light. Repurposed as a water feature, domestic nostalgia becomes a meditative element in the garden. A winding path of mismatched reclaimed bricks and bottle-embedded mosaics leads through the garden like a stitched patchwork quilt. Each step tells of demolished homes and village markets, now rewoven into something pedestrian and poetic. Children learn to follow the colorful glass insets. The gardener recalls finding a certain bottle half-buried and deciding to let it shine. The narrative celebrates imperfection and craft, laid by hand, irregular and intimate, inviting slow strolls and stories. Tin cans punched with starry patterns hang from branches, their candlelight pooling warm and dappled beneath the leaves. This vignette evokes twilight gatherings. A string of cans sways in a summer breeze, shadows dancing on faces, laughter spilling between sips of lemonade. The cans bear labels from far-off dates and flavors, now rewritten as light-bearers. The tale is about simple rituals, how inexpensive materials and a bit of punchwork can make the night feel celebratory and tender. So the next time you see a piece of scrap wood or an old metal can, don't toss it. Look at it. Because beauty isn't always new. It's often remembered. If this video inspired you, hit that like button, subscribe for more sustainable design ideas, and share your own recycled garden creations in the comments below. Let's grow a greener, more beautiful world, one scrap at a time. See you in the next garden adventure.